Hello, everyone, and good evening. So we're going to talk about meditation and mindfulness a little bit tonight. I did update my slides from the time that I actually sent them on to Joanna. So if we want copies of the slides, we can always provide those afterwards as well. And I think I'm getting a little bit more used to doing these presentations over Zoom, but it is a little bit different because I can't see your guys's uh, your reaction and response, which is also I think sometimes welcomed on your end too, because I've been to a couple seminars and that's kind of good. So you can be doing other things at home while watching and listening, and I encourage you to do so. Um, but so if you have questions, please use that chat feature and reach out and ask questions. So and we'll get started. So I did a little bit more updating with this presentation. And there'll be a lot of practice exercises. So I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see the. So you should be able to see my screen now. And so again, the presentation has meditation mindfulness, and we're going to be talking about some of its proven benefits. We're going to talk about different ways to be doing it. And really, when we kind of go into these different ways of doing meditation and mindfulness, a lot of this will be kind of at that intro level. Again, I'm Ethan Schwer. I'm the director of the diagnostics department at Groves Academy, and have worked here since 2015. I already see a question coming in. So, and so let's move. Okay. All right. So I usually like to start off my sessions with a little bit of a funny video. So, and hopefully you guys will see this video as humorous. So when we start talking about meditation mindfulness, it's one of those things that can help relieve stress and help us feel just a little bit more balanced and kind of bring us back into a state of homeostasis. So I'm going to show you this video, and I think I was showing Joanna this, so I might need to restart this. Let's see if this works. Here we go. Oh, I'm replaying it. All right, let's go on to slide 3. Oh, no, I went too far. All right. Okay. Overview and agenda. So hopefully you found that semi-humorous. And one of the things I forgot to mention is in our house, it's also bedtime, and I'm sure that you've experienced this on Zoom calls as well. There might be a chance that there's a dog or one of my kids that jumps in. So, but we'll keep going and just excuse me if there is an interruption. So overview and agenda. And one of the things that isn't on here is I'm going to talk a little bit about ways to do different types of meditation mindfulness. So I'm going to talk about, what is meditation mindfulness, the different types of meditation mindfulness, And I included a few more videos in this session to kind of walk through some of these different types of meditation mindfulness. There's lots of different ways to kind of engage in this practice. There's not just one method, and what kind of like with exercise and other things that promote healthiness. Let's find the way that best that gravitates toward us and things that we will practice on a routine basis. I will also talk a little bit about some of the research that supports the practice, and I won't go too in depth into this, but there are multiple benefits of this, and then we'll do some resources. Embedded in this presentation, we will be doing exercises as well to help engage in some of the meditation mindfulness. And then definitely if there's questions and answers, please feel free to jump in with them. So what is meditation mindfulness? So mindfulness, one of the lead researchers on this is named Kabat-Zinn, and he defines it as the awareness that emerges through paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally to the unfolding of experiences moment by moment. Now, this is going to be the basis of many types of meditation mindfulness that we do, is that paying attention on purpose, being in the present moment, and thinking non-judgmentally. But there are other types of kind of meditation mindfulness that don't fully adhere to this definition. Now, a lot of the research studies that have been completed incorporate the work of John Kabat-Zinn, and he is the creator of what's called the mindfulness-based stress reduction, or MBSR. So when we do a lot of research studies, a lot of them use this technique, and there are a few resources out there. There's a website that has a free web-based program of MBSR, and so this is a multi-step type of program. And university has some of these classes that you can also use. These ones you have to pay for, but they're great and they're fantastic in being able to help you engage into mindfulness. Okay. Okay. All right. So now, when I'm talking about meditation mindfulness, there is definitely some contention out there, and I think it's important to point that out, is that I think meditation mindfulness is just kind of part of that big overall approach to kind of healthy living. It isn't if you do this, everything is going to be healed, you're going to be doing so much better. It is kind of that piece of that puzzle. And so a lot of times when I'm working with clients and I'm working with families, I talk to them about what I call my grandma rules, and other. If you fit this in with other aspects of healthy living, like getting adequate sleep, making sure we have a proper diet, and making sure we do exercise commonly, meditation mindfulness will be an important component that will help us live that healthy life. So there's meditation mindfulness has been kind of a hotter topic probably over the last 10 years and has really gained steam over the last 5 years. And there are some people out there that say, hey, it's not as good as it's cracked up to be. And there is, if we're just practicing this day in and day out and not incorporating other healthy things, it probably won't make as much of a difference. But like I said, it's one of those components you add in. It should help you with your overall functioning. Okay, so here's some other recent articles. So I'm going to go through some of the research, but just so you know that there are some pretty strong and pretty reputable sources of information out there. So I got articles from Harvard and Cleveland Clinic. So here's one from Harvard. And how mindfulness has actually been seen to actually physically alter the brain. And I'll talk about that a little bit later as well. So there is definitely some science behind it that has shown some of those benefits. It can help with your ability to regulate your emotions, like depression, which is talked about in this article. There's a lot of therapies that have started to incorporate using mindfulness. Another article from the Cleveland Clinic talks about the 4 meditation myths. Um, and I'm going to talk about that. I usually recommend 20 minutes every day, but do you have to practice at least 20 minutes every day? No. Um, One of the things that I like about meditation, and they say this right here, do you have a minute? Great, then you have time to meditate. And there's even times, uh, I think this is something you can do in almost any place, maybe not closing your eyes, but like even if you're driving in a stressful situation, maybe I'll take a minute, take a few deep breaths, keep your eyes focused on the road by all means, but kind of engage in some of those other pieces of meditation to help calm yourself. Um, um, I've I recently, about a year ago, I was driving in a blizzard, and I found that to be very, very helpful for me. As I was driving, I was really stressed, and I was really holding on to that steering wheel really tight. Meditation, just doing some of those deep breaths was very helpful for me. Another myth that you need to clear your mind, and I'm going to go over this, that there are many other types of meditation that are out there where you don't always need to consciously clear your mind. That it doesn't do anything. It has shown many positive benefits, and there's only one way to meditate. So I'm going to talk about some of those as well. All right, now so back to my slides. So I'm going to start off with an exercise. Okay, and I do encourage that that you engage with this, and I'm going to ask for a few participants to kind of share how they feel after they are done. And what we're going to do is what's called the 5 senses exercise. And this is an exercise that does kind of get into a little bit of that concentration, and it gets into a little bit of that mindfulness. Um, so what we're going to do, I want you to close your eyes and find a position where you are comfortable. It might be seated, it might be standing, and try to feel as comfortable as you can. And I want us to start by taking a few deep breaths. I want you to breathe in through your nose and then breathe out through your mouth as if you're blowing through a straw. And your breath should be somewhat exaggerated. So big, deep breath in, slow, deep breath out. Continue that for a few more breaths. Big, deep breath in, slow, deep breath out. Try to relax yourself and let go of any tension you have and just focus on your breath. Now, with your eyes closed, I want you to focus in on 5 things that were around you in your room, where you're sitting, where you're standing. Try to notice 5 things that you were able to see when your eyes were open. Try to picture yourself in that room or in that space, and try to pay attention to those 5 things and name some of the visual details, their color, their shape, how big or little they are. While you're doing this, continue your deep breaths. Now I want you to focus on 4 things that you can feel. It might be the cold or warmth in the room. It might be the feeling of the way that your clothes are fitting on your body. It might be some of the tension that you have from the stress of your day. Focus in on those four things that you can feel. And I want you to notice 3 things that you can hear. It might be one of your children in the next room. It might be a TV, or even just the air moving through the vents. As you continue to focus on these things that you hear, continue with your deep breaths. Slow breath in, slow breath out. Now try to notice 2 things that you can smell. Try to be aware of something that you can smell that maybe you wouldn't be aware of if you weren't doing this exercise. Now, lastly, I want you to try to notice the taste in your mouth. Continue with your deep breaths and slowly come back. Open your eyes. And if anybody is willing to share how they are feeling after this exercise, I greatly appreciate it. And we can either do that through the Q&A quorum, or Joanna, can we unmute them?
We can't unmute in the webinar format, but they could just chat it as well. They don't need to do the Q&A. You could just use the chat function and just put a quick note in there.
Okay. So we've got one person says warm, relaxed, and calm. Okay. So pretty common theme here that we feel much more peaceful, much more relaxed, de-stressed, focused. Thank you for sharing. And my guess is, and please feel free to add this into the comments too, that maybe feel a little bit more centered and a little bit more relaxed than before we did this practice. Okay. Okay. Yeah, one comment, surprising how quickly I began to feel more relaxed. Okay. One said less jaw tension. Yes, awesome. Okay. And so that definitely is a very simple calming technique. And I don't know if we spend much more than 5 minutes doing that. That didn't even take very long. So it's something that can easily be done even during a workday. Um, I think we've all had those stressful meetings or stressful times at work. Even 5 minutes before you go in, you do one of those stressful meetings, or 5 minutes afterwards. I try to do this during my lunch break when I have time, and it makes it so much better on how you feel, and then I think that also reflects then with how you interact with others too. I know when I'm a little bit more cranky or crabby, I tend to get a little bit more sarcastic, um, and this can definitely help guard against that. Okay, and we're going to do a few more exercises with this, but I'm going to jump into. So thank you for sharing, everyone. I'm going to jump into some of the different types of meditation mindfulness. Okay, and this is not an exhaustive list by any means. So there are more types of meditation mindfulness um, than what is even listed here. Um, so, like I said, the one that we did was kind of a blend between one and two, a little bit of that mindfulness, a little bit of that concentration. There's also heart center. There's also transcendental, Tai Chi and Qi Guang, and then also a walking. So, and I'm going to show you a little video clip of these first four. That's why you can see it there underlined. I got links to them. So, uh, first I'll show you a little video clip of just basic mindfulness. Okay. So here we go.
We're awake on one level, but on another level, life is often passing us by. All too often we talk about, in our common language, I missed it completely. I was just lost. I wasn't here for it. And sometimes that happens many times in the course of a day. Sometimes we look back and it's a decade later and we ask ourselves the question, where was I for my children's growing up? Where was I emotionally for my life with my wife or my husband or my children? So there's something very poignant about the present moment, since it's always now. All of the stresses in our lives happen now. All the decisions that we have to make in our lives happen now. And yet often enough, we're living in the past, or we're living in the future, but the past is gone. The future hasn't arrived. But now is right here. This is when we hear the sound of the birds. This is when we feel the caress of our child's hand against our face. Mindfulness is a way of beginning to become more attentive to the present moment, to the actuality of being alive, and maybe even more importantly, participating in that act of being alive.
Mindfulness is a whole way of living. It's a way of being engaged, deeply connected, and tapping into inner resource that's always available. Mindfulness is the awareness that rises when we pay attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally.
Can mindfulness help me be more concentrated and focused? Can mindfulness help me have more of a sense of mental stability, in the sense of, can the mind be more stable, more present, more focused, more directed?
Sorry about that. Let's see if I can get just right back to where we were.
Open the eyes. Notice the sounds around you, or the light streaming into the room, or the quality of the darkness if it's still dark out. Just those few moments are a way of grounding ourselves on purpose in this present moment. We're all going to be stressed. There's no doubt about it. Stress isn't a bad thing in and of itself. I think there's a real difference between stress and feeling what people often say is, I'm stressed out. Mark Twain said, my life has been filled with terrible tragedies, most of which never happened. And what he was really pointing to in his own unique way, I'm catastrophizing all the time. I'm thinking about things way out in front of me that have never happened. I'm speculating about what will happen, but they haven't happened.
There are many things that are stressful to many of us, but even inside that, there's going to be individual differences. Knowing your own self can help so much. It's like saying, when I'm in busy traffic, I tense up. So knowing that can help you not have to just fall into the same old reactive pattern.
I had a comment that, is the audio quiet? I'm going to see if I can adjust the volume. Are other people able to hear this well or not?
I can hear it. It's a little on the quiet side, but I just have my volume turned up more.
You're all
We're awake on one level, but on another level, life is often passing.
and now I'm muted.
Often we talk about, in our common language, I missed it completely. I was just lost. And say is, I'm stressed out. Mark Twain said, my life has been filled with terrible tragedies, most of which never happened. And what he was really pointing to in his own unique way, I'm catastrophizing all the time. I'm thinking about things way out in front of me that have never happened. I'm speculating about what will happen, but they haven't happened.
There are many things that are stressful to many of us, but even inside that, there's going to be individual differences. Knowing your own self can help so much. It's like saying, when I'm in busy traffic, I tense up. So knowing that can help you not have to just fall into the same old reactive pattern. Then there's meeting it skillfully. You might even say tools to meet stress, to meet tension in the body, to meet thinking that feels overwhelmed. That's one of the cues for me. If I hear my internal voice say, I'm overwhelmed, that's a time for me to really stop, to ground, to take a breath, to just get more space, sometimes step outside, shift for a moment if I'm indoors, see the sky, open to nature, a few breaths. And actually what that's doing neurologically is a rebalance. This term balance that comes with meditation or mindfulness, this is a very basic biological definition of where we come into greater restorative state. And it may be many times, many small times during the day that we meet this and we recalibrate. If you've ever stood on one foot to balance, you find that there's tiny little movements, these little rebalancing out of balance, rebalancing out of balance. So it's not some fixed, static state. It's very, very alive. When it's informed by awareness, when it's informed with mindfulness, we can more skillfully meet those moments of being out of balance. You might think of three qualities that are involved in mindfulness. One is attention, so choosing to be awake in each moment of being alive. Intention is the choice to do that, purposeful choice. And the other is attitude. And attitude is the kind of open curiosity that we bring to what we're aware of in the moment.
All right, so that is the basis of kind of that mindfulness approach. So it's more that being kind of aware of where you're at, that intentionality, being non-judgmental. Now I'm trying to get back to my slide. See if this works. There we go. Okay. All right. So the next one is going to be that concentration. So concentration is going to have that very focus on something. So I'll go and we'll show a little clip on what a concentration mindfulness looks like. And
so. And take a moment just to come into the body as it rests right here. You don't need to change or fix anything. Just tuning into where you are in the present time experience. You can feel the butt in the chair, the weight of gravity holding you down. The feet on the floor. And you can tune into the body breathing right at the center of the chest or the tip of the nose, picking one space and working with it for now. And you can feel the body breathing itself naturally. You don't have to take any super spiritual breath or breathe in any certain way. Just let the body breathe itself as it does all day long. And tune into the movement. At the chest, you can feel that rising and falling and expansion and contraction. And then at the tip of the nose, you can feel a slight little tickle with each inhale. And as you exhale, the air coming out just a little bit warmer. So picking one spot and just resting with the fluidity of the breath. We're going to use a counting exercise just to cultivate this ability of the mind to concentrate. And as we do this, remember that it's natural for the mind to think, to get hooked into sounds or feelings in the body. And we don't need to push the thoughts away, but just returning to the breath, leaving the thoughts be. So you can inhale, bringing awareness to the body breathing. And as you exhale, count 1. Inhale again. And as you exhale, count 2. Inhale. And as you release, count 3. And we can count like this just up to 8. And when you get to 8, starting back at 1, it's not a competition or a measurement of how good you are. Rather, the numbers serve as an indicator. We may notice ourselves going up past 8 or losing track of what number we're on. There's nothing wrong with starting back at 1. Every time the mind wanders and we bring it back, we're strengthening the ability to concentrate. So not seeing that as an obstacle, but as an opportunity. Returning to the breath as many times as necessary. Inhale. 1. Inhale. And 2.
so if you're doing a little bit of that concentration and you were kind of following along with that, that to me is one that's a little bit more difficult. With some of these um, they are geared towards a certain track. And that concentration, that can help improve attention and focus as you practice that. And it kind of makes sense is if I'm focused on reintegrating and refocusing on a certain thing that I'm really concentrating on, I may be able to generalize that and do that in other aspects of my life. But even some of these other types of meditation mindfulness can also improve that concentration and focus as well. Even when we're doing the mindfulness, when we're trying to be mindful where we are, we're still doing a little bit of concentration. One of the things I really liked what he said during that concentration video was sometimes you lose track of where you are, or sometimes other thoughts come into your mind. During COVID, I haven't had nearly as much of this occur, but prior to COVID, so I've got 4 little ones at home, and so I'd sit down and when I do a meditation mindfulness, a lot of times my mind will wander, and I'll start thinking about what I need to do that day. What type of client am I going to be seeing when I get home? Who's got baseball or softball practice? Do I need to pick up a kid today? Do I need to stop at the grocery store? All these different things, all these to-dos that we have to do. And so it's okay for those thoughts to come in. What we want to do is try to recognize when that happens and then come back into what we're concentrating on or that mindfulness. Now I'm going to show you two more videos. So I got the heart-centered and the transcendental. And then from there, we're going to go on. We're going to do a few more practice exercises. We're going to jump into the research with that. And then we'll get into the Q&A. I do see that there are some Q&A questions. So we'll definitely touch base on those. So here is heart-centered. Okay. And this should open up a new video, new website. Okay, I'm going to start this. Right there.
The meditation starts actually with the body, with hand placement on the body. So there's a mudra, and a mudra is really something that runs energy in the body. So we start with the right hand right over the heart, not the solar plexus, not too low, and not too high, right over the heart chakra. So right hand and then left with the thumbs touching. And this actually begins the meditation from the level of the body. So you can feel the difference, actually. Just doing this is quite amazing. You can put your hands down, notice how your body feels, then put your hands on your heart, and you can see how it's already stimulating this specific energy from the heart chakra. The different chakras are different states of consciousness in the body. And so what we're doing is we're using everything we can to stimulate this heart energy. Requires 2 points of focus to move energy. So we're going to use more than 2. We're going to use our hands, we're going to use the mantra, and we're going to use our awareness. The next way we start the meditation is we start the meditation actually using our hands. So we start the meditation by practicing the art of sacred touch. What this means is go in and envision your hands as radiant balls of light, as gratitude and compassion and reverence. So beginning the meditation by sending into your own body reverence and compassion. And if you get a chance, if you're able, go in and pitch your awareness to your body and notice what that touch feels like. It feels different than our casual standard touch. Now, some would say from here the meditation's already started because the body is now in this heart chakra, heart center state. We're going to bring our mind into it as well. So the heart center has 4 attributes, and each attribute has a different aspect of this meditation. The first attribute is compassion, oceanic, limitless, boundless compassion. So with your breath, Call in compassion. Invite it in the way you would invite a guest into your home. Focusing on your hands and using your breath, call in compassion. Limitless, boundless compassion. The second attribute is innate harmony. It's the calm in the midst of chaos, or the still point, or the eye of the hurricane. Using an inner voice and your breath, call in innate harmony, as if you were inviting a guest into your house again. Call it in so it can join you, so it can join us in the meditation, so we can embody it. The third attribute is healing presence. Healing presence. It's the desire and longing toward healing. Love in action. It's the first movement in the universe. Love in action, drawn toward healing. With your breath, bring it in. Invite it in so we may embody it. Healing presence. And the fourth attribute is unconditioned, unconditional love. It's reverence. Wow. It's the ability to perceive each thing for what it is. It's not personal love. It's the ability to appreciate each thing for exactly what it is without trying to change it. It's deeply healing to visit this place from time to time. Unconditioned, unconditional love. And calling it in. So those are the four attributes. And I've called them in. I can feel the shift.
So I tried doing a little bit of more of the heart-based meditation actually today. And I still use a little bit more of the meditation mindfulness component. Oops, clicked on the wrong link. And just putting that hand and pressure over the heart did make a little bit of a difference for me. So that I definitely felt a little bit more calmness, and having that pressure that was felt great. All right, so the last one that I'm going to show a little video clip, and then we'll be moving along from video clips, is the transcendental. Okay, and maybe before I jump into there, I'll talk a little bit. There are other meditations where there's more movement involved. A lot of people even do yoga, and I don't have yoga on this list. Yoga can be a great source of mindfulness and meditation. Number 6, there's been a lot of research study with that walking, and usually they say walking through nature. And I know it's a little cold out there right now, but just taking a nature walk can help soothe us and kind of bring us back into that state of balance and homeostasis as well. So I'll give you a little clip on this transcendental, and we should be going to a web page that talks about transcendental meditation. And so this is something where they talked about that a lot of those on Wall Street are doing this. You'll see a lot of famous people that say that they tried this technique of meditation. This is one where they do ask you to do a little bit of training with it, and to work with a trainer to help you work through this. And this one is a little bit different. So I'm going to show a little intro video on kind of talking about the basis of transcendental.
Hi, my name is Bob Roth, and I've been a teacher of Transcendental Meditation for over 40 years. I want to start right off with a very simple working definition of Transcendental Meditation. Number 1, TM is a very simple technique. It's simple not because it's simplistic or a beginner's meditation, but because there's an elegant simplicity to the practice. Very profound, elegant simplicity to the practice. Number 2, it's natural. There's no manipulation, there's no suggestion. Every human being can practice transcendental meditation as well as every other human being. Very simple to learn and very enjoyable to practice. Number 3, it's effortless. Effortless in contrast to many other meditation techniques which involve concentration or control of the mind, trying to clear the mind of thoughts. This is completely effortless, as we'll see in a few moments. It's practiced 20 minutes twice a day, sitting comfortably in a chair with your eyes closed. It can be done, on a train. It can be done on an airplane. It can be done in a car if someone else is driving. But it can be it's just done sitting comfortably. It's a silent technique with your eyes closed. And this is what it's not. It's not a philosophy. I have no philosophy for you. When you learn Transcendental Meditation, no one's going to give you a TM philosophy of life. There's no philosophy whatsoever. It doesn't involve any change in lifestyle. You don't change your diet or anything. And the third thing is there's nothing to believe in. I want to emphasize that because sometimes people think, oh, when I learn to meditate, I have to believe in it for it to work. You can be 100% skeptical and the technique works just as well, the benefits are just as profound, as if you went into this thing thinking, oh, I believe in meditation, it's going to work. So there's no belief whatsoever. So to understand what Transcendental Meditation is, and to understand how it compares to other forms of meditation or self-development, I like to use the metaphor or the analogy of an ocean. You're on a small boat, you're in the middle of the ocean, out in the middle of the ocean, and all of a sudden you get these huge swells, these huge 40, 60-foot high waves, and you could think, oh my God, the whole ocean is in upheaval. Well, not really, because if you do a cross-section of the ocean, you see these little 40-foot high waves, and the ocean is like, in reality, a mile deep, and the ocean is active on the depth of the ocean. It is naturally silent. That's the nature of the ocean, active on the surface, silent at its depth. And the analogy is our mind. The surface of our mind is the active thinking mind. All the things that we're thinking about all during the day. It's like the waves on the surface of, and I like to call it the gotta mind. I gotta do this, and I gotta do that, and I gotta call him, and I gotta call her, and I gotta make a list, and I gotta find the list, and I gotta make a new list, and I gotta get going, and I gotta slow down, and I gotta get to sleep, and I gotta wake up. I'm sure everybody's had a gotta mind at some point, and there's a natural inclination, a natural desire to have some inner calm, some inner clarity, some inner focus, some inner inspiration, some inner peace, some inner happiness, natural. And the operative word there is inner. And the question is, where is that inner and how do we get there? Deep within every human being, deep within all of us, is a level of the mind that is already calm, already settled, already wide awake. The ancient meditation texts use very big words. They say it's a source of our unbounded creativity, unbounded intelligence, happiness, focus, clarity. Now the big question is, how do you get there? How do you go from the active thinking, gotta level of the mind to these quieter and quieter levels to that source of thought? And how do you get there effortlessly? It's there right now. We don't have to muscle it. We don't have to believe in it. We don't have to clear our mind of thoughts. That's trying to stop the waves on the surface. We're accessing a level of our mind that's already calm. The natural tendency of the human mind to be drawn towards some field, something more satisfying. Absolutely spontaneously more satisfying. Inside is a field of great satisfaction. Source of thought, great, very charming field. In Transcendental Meditation, we learn how to give the attention of the mind an inward direction. Instead of outward through our senses toward that nice music, that interesting conversation, that, is it hard to watch a great movie? No, your attention is drawn to it. So, but that all goes out through the senses. Now, like that cross-section of the ocean, we learn how to give the attention of the mind an inward direction, and automatically the attention is drawn, settled quieter and quieter levels, because quieter levels of the mind are increasingly more satisfying.
So that's enough for that clip, and I'll go back to the presentation. So this was just kind of, like I said at the beginning of the presentation, is I want to kind of inform you on some different types of of different types of meditation. I have not done all of these. I have not done the transcendental. I have mainly focused on more of that mindfulness. Um, but I did want you to be aware that there are other types that are out there. And before we even kind of jump into our next slides, I'm going to talk a little bit about, why does this work? And then we'll jump into another couple exercises too, because I know I've been showing you guys a lot of videos as well. So that in one of the first videos, they talked about that there is a kind of a neurological reason why this works. And this is tied to another talk that I commonly give is with anxiety. And this kind of goes into our body's reaction to when we feel stressed, when we feel anxious, when we feel not in our regular mode of functioning. And what happens is when we become stressed, um, our autonomic nervous system engages, and specifically the sympathetic system will engage, and that kind of puts us into this fight or flight type of mode, where our body is meant to get ready to fight or flight, to kind of make sure that really, in essence, that we live. But when we're stressed, it engages that system. So our heart might beat faster. We might feel a little bit more colder or clammy. We might, we might sweat. So a lot of things can happen when that sympathetic system is engaged. And what happens when we do mindfulness and we kind of remove that stress, and kind of doing those deep breathing kind of engages that parasympathetic system, is that brings us back into that state of homeostasis. Okay? So you're kind of forcing that. And so this can help with that stress reduction. It can help with anxiety, can help with depression. One of the things that this can also really help with, and we'll talk a little bit, is engaging in the sleep cycle. So it can be part of a healthy sleep routine. That doing this before bed can get us ready to kind of initiate our sleep. So really, meditation will help our bodies adapt and reduce heightened levels of stress. That's kind of the first and the overarching picture with that. And one of the other things that I liked with some of the other videos is you really can do this anywhere. This is something that I used to do right before I would take a test. A professor or teacher would hand out a test. I'd stop. Other people would jump in and start working, just to take a small, deep breath, close my eyes, and just breathe a little bit. And that, to me, that really helped me focus and kind of not get too worked up if I was overly stressed about taking a test. So now going back to that previous slide is now we'll jump in a little bit. Actually, I'm going to try to do one more exercise before I jump in and start showing you some of this science. And so what I'm going to do is what's called the Raisin Exercise with you. Okay. If you can, I want you to grab an object that is near you, hopefully a smaller object, and it can be anything. It might be a pair of reading glasses. It might be a pen or pencil. I'm looking around my office. It might be a coaster, whatever it may be. Okay, and I want you to hold that in your hand. And again, I'm going to have you close your eyes. Okay. And we're going to engage in some of those deep breaths. So a deep breath in through the nose, slow deep breath out through the mouth. Again, we want to exaggerate these breaths. Big inhale through the nose. We should really feel our lungs expand. And then a slow deep breath through the mouth, like we're blowing through a straw. Now, with your eyes closed, I want you to feel this object that is within your hands. I want you to try to perceive how that object looks. want you to kind of decide how it feels. See if you can recognize something different about this object that you may not have noticed. Maybe think about how your skin responds to the touching of it. Is it cold? Does it warm up? Is it smooth? Is it rough? If it's an object that you can do this, maybe take a smell of it. Maybe if it's an object that's also something that you can do this and you don't feel like you need to, but maybe take a taste. Engage your senses on what this object is. And just be mindful of it. Take a few more deep breaths. And then slowly open your eyes and come back. Now, again, through those comments section, if anybody is willing to share what they, if they're willing to share what their object was, and maybe even share like maybe some things that they noticed about this object that they didn't do, that they didn't notice before. And one of the things I was just trying to engage is just kind of more of that focus and the being very mindful in that present moment. So would anybody be willing to share what they used or tried and how it made them feel? We'll give a minute or two for responses. If I don't have any, we'll move on. And Elmer's glue bottle. Very interesting. I sure hope you didn't taste that one. There's a reason that this is called a raisin exercise, so I'm supposed to have raisins set out on the table. But going back to my 8-year-old self, I probably would have tasted it. Anybody else willing to share? Okay, a pen. Mini hand sanitizer. Isn't that the sign of the times? Okay, did not feel as relaxed as the other senses one. Okay. Okay, very good to recognize. Okay. All right, if there's any more comments that come in, we'll highlight them. We are coming up on 8 o'clock, so I was kind of hoping that I would have you guys done by about 8:15, and I think we're very much approaching that. So, oh, there's one more chat that came in. Is it required to exhale from the mouth? That is a very good question. Absolutely not. A lot of times that is a recommendation, but it is definitely not required. The main piece and the main message that if I can get across, is that we want you to find something that you feel comfortable and something that's going to feel relaxing to you. So if that's something that feels awkward or not great to you, then don't do it. But as you're starting out, sometimes it's a good practice because it really does kind of force you into that very deep breath cycle, which can help engage that parasympathetic system. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the research behind this. So I'm going to show one more clip. And I believe that this is my last clip, and then I'm going to also jump into some resources that you can use as well.
Scientific research has always been the cornerstone of the work of the Stress Reduction Clinic and the Center for Mindfulness. It is through rigorous clinical and basic science research that MBSR and other mindfulness-based interventions have been shown to be effective and useful to people from all walks of life.
We would assess people before on various measures and then assess them afterwards. The research then went to a much higher level of randomized clinical trials to try to really discern in a much more stringent way what was going on with these people, let's say at the level of the biology, at the level of brain function, at the level of the immune system.
We wouldn't be here 30 years later if it wasn't for the science, because you wouldn't have anything to talk about. You could just say, well, people think it's a good idea and they like it.
One of the first randomized trials to test the potential efficacy of mindfulness meditation was conducted in a study on psoriasis patients at UMass. While all the patients in the study were treated with the standard ultraviolet phototherapy, those in the experimental group were instructed to listen to guided mindfulness meditation tapes while undergoing treatment.
The group that was randomized to stress reduction were more successful in seeing the decrease in the psoriasis than the group that was not.
To tell you the truth, I didn't believe it. It was too phenomenal a result. For people who are meditating between 30 seconds and 10 minutes, 3 times a week for 4 months. They're not allowed to take tapes home and practice with them at home like in MBSR or anything like that. So it seems like, wow, this is affecting a healing process.
Another one was a study that we collaborated with Dr. Richard Davidson and his colleagues at the University of Wisconsin in Madison, and that was on a worksite study where we randomized a workforce into an experimental group who took the 8-week MBSR program in a control group who did not take it.
We actually did it with not the traditional MBSR clientele, but rather with a group of highly stressed employees at a high-tech corporation in Madison. The study demonstrated that MBSR, compared to a control condition, did indeed change brain function in specific ways over the course of 8 weeks.
We tested them with a flu vaccine and measured their antibody responses over the course of many weeks following the course.
And what we found is that the participants in the MBSR group showed a significant boost in their response to the vaccine compared to the control group. And the amount that their brain changed actually predicted how much the vaccine was effective. So this was really a landmark study in many ways, and really, I think, the beginning of the era of modern research on meditation.
So I think that last study is super, super interesting. And I think that engaging in some meditation mindfulness, especially as we prepare for maybe even taking the COVID vaccine, could that make the COVID vaccine even a little bit better? And I don't know, we don't know the answer to that, but it probably doesn't hurt to try. And so that, I think, is absolutely amazing. Is they've actually studied this where they have measured the antibodies in the bloodstream, and it has been increased for those that have done the meditation mindfulness compared to those that did not do the meditation mindfulness. Okay. So some of the studies that I referenced, and I'm not going to go through each of these studies, so don't feel like oh boy, this is going to take a long time, but I'm going to highlight some of the key ones. So it has definitely been proven to help with health and stress reduction. This one actually came to me by someone that came into our clinic and was working with us. for that they did this through their work. So this was, I believe, in the Twin Cities area, where they used a telephone MBSR program at a health facilities, and nurses did this. And nurses have those high stress jobs, and they had a better overall health, decreased stress, decreased work burnout. And I think actually one of the things is they had a better satisfaction of their job, and then they also had less sick time for those that did not that engage in the MBSR. But it has been shown to help with symptoms of irritable bowel syndromes or disorders. It's helped increase vaccines. It's very much been helpful for cancer patients and their partners. So very much is something that has definitely helped with health and stress. In other realms of functioning, it's helped with attention and regulation of behavior and emotion. Military has studied some of this, and they found greater working memory capacity. They have found students that have done this have had greater attention and less academic problems. It's helped improve anxiety, and then a lot of other behaviors that are associated with that. And what we have also found is we can do meditation mindfulness. These effects can happen with any age group. And they've even done studies even with preschoolers. And the way that we engage with meditation mindfulness with young kids is a little bit different than what we were doing. So we're doing, working on mindfulness and trying not to look at things non-judgmentally and be focused on the present moment. With kids, it can be as simple of an activity as have them lay on the floor, put their hands on their bellies, have them close their eyes, and just have them breathe and have them feel their bellies rise and fall with their breaths. And that has been shown that can actually even improve some of the social skills with kids. So their ability to regulate their emotions, and then it improves their ability or improves social interactions. Okay. I'm going to come back to one more exercise. Okay, so other pieces, it's been shown to help with autism spectrum disorder, help with parents that are stressed out with helping their child through autism spectrum, and then with intervention, greater quality of life, less problem behaviors with children. And I've talked about a few of these. Yoga interventions have definitely helped with symptoms related to ADHD, anxiety. I think that there has been recent studies where the military has used this and has been very, very effective for dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, this is actually one of my favorite studies right here, is down on the bottom. And I want to be careful when I'm talking about this, but I'll talk and I'll tell what my careful point is. But they did a huge meta-analysis, and for those that were dealing with mild to moderate anxiety or depression, they found that meditation mindfulness was just as, if not more effective than medication. Okay, and have that sink in for a minute. Now, that wasn't the same for those that had more severe presentations of the anxiety and depression. And what I want to be careful with saying this is, I'm by no means am I saying that you should go home and stop your medication, because that is not what I'm saying. And medication can be very helpful a treatment program for these, but this meditation mindfulness, a very simple practice, can be a very powerful piece to treating those. Okay. We've also seen, we talked about that there's actually been differences in brain structure. And one of the things when I was talking about that biological response to stress, when people are more stressed or more anxious, um, there are areas in the brain that can grow. Just like when we are exercise more and we work one muscle group more, that muscle group can grow bigger and bigger. The same thing can happen with anxiety, especially with the amygdala. A lot of times that amygdala can grow bigger, which is one of those areas of the brain that is very much connected to stress and anxiety. And as we start moving into more meditation mindfulness, and we start addressing that amygdala will start to shrink. Okay? And there's other parts of the brain that where they have found definitely much differences. There's a lot more differences after they have engaged in meditation mindfulness. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to do, right before we go into some of the resources that I have for them, I'm going to do one more exercise for you. And I know that some of you guys said that, or there was one comment that Raisin Exercise wasn't nearly as calming. So I'm going to do one more with you. So I want you to kind of get back into that. I want you to close your eyes, get your comfortable, get whatever makes you the most comfortable, kind of engage into that. If the deep breaths were helpful for you, do those. If they weren't helpful for you, just kind of relax and be centered on yourself. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you some sounds. And what I want you to do is just pay attention to the sound. You're going to hear it gong or chime, and you're going to hear it. And I want you to try to pay attention to it as long as you can. So take a few deep breaths and relax yourself. And now, oh, there's going to be an advertisement. Maybe wait on relaxing yourself.
That face that is usually covered by her phone has finally made an appearance. That face wouldn't be doing that if you weren't staying at a Verbo Lake.
Okay. Sorry for the advertisement. So now I'll kind of get into that state of relaxation. And I'm going to start playing it. When you are ready, slowly open your eyes and come on back. So now I'm going to go into one of my resources. As I jump into some of these resources, I was thinking as we were playing that bell, as part of my internship, the bell reminded me of an experience that I had during my internship, and I worked at a residential center for adolescent boys that had many different types of problematic behaviors, and many of these boys came from very, very troubled and traumatic pasts. And one of the things that we did during group and individual therapies were starting them off. We started the sessions, we ended the sessions with a bell, and then we engage in some of this meditation mindfulness. And it wasn't too deep, but just having that bell. And you could tell some of these kids that would come into the session, they'd be super stressed, and you play that bell and they'd listen to it. And then they were ready to talk and work through things that they needed to work through. And it was quite amazing to see that. Some of the resources that I want to provide to you is there are tons of resources on meditation mindfulness, and you may even find more resources that are out there if you do a quick Google search. A lot of the resources I gave you were right from YouTube. They have tons of guided meditations. When I started off my journey in doing meditations, I was strictly doing guided meditations, where I'd have a YouTube or I'd download an app and I'd have it guide me through that. And some people really enjoy that. As I work through, I usually will just set a timer on my watch and I will sit and I will do my meditation. Another meditation that we didn't cover is if you're a person of faith, it can be prayer. Okay. So that can definitely be something that you can incorporate into these practices. Now, some of the web pages that I have available are mindful.org. There's a web page from the University of Minnesota. I highlighted this one earlier. This mindfulness website will give you that 8-week course of MBSR free. And then one of my favorites is MARC, which is Mindfulness Awareness Research Center from UCLA. Harvard has got some great, and University of Massachusetts also has some great resources on meditation mindfulness. If you're into TED Talks, these kind of get into, these are some good TED Talks that kind of get into that meditation mindfulness. Some organizations. And so this one is in Minneapolis. This date is wrong. I forgot to correct that. But Common Ground Meditation, very good program to help engage in meditation. The Minnesota Zen Center, and then again, one from the University of Minnesota. What I usually get asked about are apps. There are tons of apps out there. Probably the two most common are going to be Headspace and Calm. Both of these are very, very good apps. A lot of these apps, they are free to download. A lot of the introductory pieces are free. Then as you want to continue working with them and download the sessions, that they'll cost, there'll be a fee for that. Still very, very good websites or very good apps and very good resources. I know for me, one of the credit cards that I have, and it might be useful to check into this, they had a benefit for using the Calm app during the COVID-19, during the pandemic. And so they gave free access to that. So that's always worth looking into as well. And this is not an exhaustive list by any means. There are tons of other apps that are out there, and there may be even some that I am unaware of that are very, very good, and that should be listed. Okay, exercises. There's websites that will go through different types of meditation exercises. Okay, question and answers. I did see a question about how does Groves incorporate mindfulness during the school day and or throughout the school week. That is a question that that I don't know the full answers to. I know that there are bits and pieces that are involved during the day, and I think it is very much left up to the individual class and how they do that. So some classes will do more things and some classes will do less, and I think that is up to really the teacher. As we move into middle school and high school and we teach more executive function, there's a little piece that is involved with that. So if you have more questions about Groves Academy and doing my meditation mindfulness, and if you're a parent, I would reach out to the teacher and see what they do. Okay. Any other questions while we're I'm not seeing any more. We'll give you a minute or two. I did leave my email address, so if you do have questions later on, I'd be happy to answer them. I will stay on here for a couple more minutes. If not, feel free to log off, and I hope you have a great night. Nope. There's one. Oh, you're welcome.